Right now, homes are about double the cost of what they should be compared to the rest of the economy. And this will correct.
At goldsilver.com, we have a price match guarantee, free shipping, and global storage options. Thanks for making goldsilver.com your bullion dealer.
Hi, this is the next in your series of updates on bubbles that are up. So it's your Bubble Up Update number 2. And this one is on real estate. And so let's just get right into some data here. This is Dr. Robert Shiller of Yale University came up with this. And I first presented this chart back in 2005. I think this was like right about here. And I was saying that real estate was going to crash. Maybe it was 2004 at the Silver Summit. So this was somewhere around here. And I presented this data. And Robert Shiller kept on updating it. And then for some reason he stopped back in 2017, I believe. In 2018, I put together something called the Early Warning Seminar and the Early Warning Presentation. And I took this and extended it a line. Now it actually looks like my extension because I had added some of his other data that was available from elsewhere to this graph. And it's scary how similar it looks. But I am dyslexic, and I don't like looking at a graph with a lot of stuff on it, so I'm going to eliminate some stuff here. Interest rates, I'm going to take a look at that later with separate data. Population, it's too bad. There was a missed opportunity here. This doesn't really have any bearing on the rest of this graph, other than if he could have included some data on how many homes exist, the number of existing homes. Then you can divide that by the population, and you can sort of get a supply-demand type of curve here. Too many people, not enough homes, or too many homes and not enough people. We'll get to something like that in just a moment. Real building costs, this is how much the home builders are making, whether they're getting squeezed or not. So these are, when it says real, it's adjusted for inflation. Real home prices, this is the one I want to focus on. I'm going to eliminate the other sets of data here just so that we can look at this one. And what he did was he indexed the beginning of this data set, which was 1890, to a factor of 100. And this is variations when a home is running ahead of inflation or behind inflation, or if there's deflation going on. So you see the value of the home in constant terms, whether it's overvalued or undervalued. Now, I think that, we've fiddled with the CP lie. The CP lie does not really reflect true inflation. In my last episode, if you have not watched it yet, please go back and watch that. I talk about CUP inflation, currency units per person. It's an inflation measure that I came up with. How many currency units is the Federal Reserve and the banking sector creating per person in a given country, in an economy? That is the true measure of inflation, because every dollar has to go somewhere to somebody. And it dilutes the currency supply. The sectors that get inflated first, where the currency goes first, if they sell that asset, they can buy a whole lot more of something else that has not yet inflated. And the outcomes of these arrogant, I don't know what to call them, these people that I have no respect for, that run the monetary system, that believe in Keynesian economics, that think that Austrian school economics is a relic of the past, that it doesn't work, that thinks that they can actually steer the economy, that they know more than the free market, which is the sum total of all the hundreds of trillions of transactions that are going on all over the world. These people think they know better than that. It's unbelievable. And then they manipulate the economy. It works for a little while. It goes in the direction they want. But then the further out of whack that they make this thing by pumping up one sector over another, the further out of whack, when the free market overcomes that by either causing the rest of the economy to inflate until it meets that the inflated sectors, or a big crash and a deflation until everything is in balance again. The free market will balance it. This is an absolute, this will happen. And why these people can't see into the future based on, it would be a lot harder to see into the future if the free market was just working. But when people like this, that are so arrogant that they think they know more, manipulate the economy this much, you have the ability now to look into the future, see what's coming, and then place your bets, basically. And instead of being a victim of their arrogance, these people aren't going to suffer. Bernanke, Powell, Yellen, they're not going to suffer from this. It's the average person that is going to suffer. And so, but a person that's informed and sees what's going on can make preparations for the eventual rebalancing that will take place. The thing is, you don't know when that is going to happen. But the further that this goes on, the further that they push things out of balance, I'm fond of saying the higher the cliff, the bigger the fall. And that's basically what's going. You either have to have super raging inflation in the rest of the economy to balance out the inflation of all the dollars that were created that went into areas that they don't count when they measure inflation. CUP inflation, currency units per person, measures all of those dollars. It measures everywhere that dollars go because all dollars end up in somebody's hands. So it literally is the best measure. I came up with it back in 2005 or 6. And it didn't make it into my book. And I will show you the chapter sometime or another. Anyway, so if we take a look at this, he's saying that this is fair value. I say that this is about fair value in here, which would be about 1. So 100 would be up at about 110. Well, we're up at like 220, so it doesn't matter. What it means is that real estate, real home prices, right now, homes are about double the cost of what they should be compared to the rest of the economy. And this will correct. I was saying the same thing when I was presenting this chart back in 2004 or 5, and it was way up here. I was in front of an audience saying the exact same thing that I'm saying now. This bubble will burst, and it'll come back down to earth. Now, let's look at some supply-demand fundamentals. This is the ratio of how many homes are currently under construction as compared to the 25 to 54-year-old working population. This is the population that is the most likely to buy a new home. This is the number of new homes under construction. And what you see here, it's probably sort of in balance somewhere down in here. But what you see here is that when they're starting to build too many homes, eventually they run out of demand. There's nobody there. Now, we also, once this reversed, this is what triggered the problems with the credit rating agencies flat out lying to everybody and telling us that these mortgage-backed securities were safe and they were AAA rated and that kind of stuff. And it was just a bunch of, they had basically fabricated huge lies, misrepresenting everything. The credit default swaps, this is what triggered that breaking. This starts back in, this is 2005, 6, that's 7. So this is starting at the end of 2006, beginning of 2007. And then we had the 2008 global financial crisis, started in late 2008. So that started here. So this going backwards, running out of the number of people that are able to buy those homes is what triggered the global financial crisis. But look at where we are again. I mean, can you see the future here? What do you think is going to happen? So let's move on. I mean, enough of this. The people at the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, the people running things, are just too dumb to be able to see this. Anyway, what affects the purchases of homes? The lower the interest rate that you are paying on a mortgage, the more home you can afford to buy, right? Okay, and so we've seen the end of this. This is also connected to bonds, the interest rates. And so we'll visit bonds in the next episode of the Bubble Updates. But here you see mortgages falling and falling and falling, and they get down to a low here in 2021, I think that is, might be late 2020, and now they're rising. But what's more important, they're rising at the fastest rate of change, the fastest pace of any of the data going all the way back to 1989 here. And so this is bad news for the real estate bubble. And then taking another even longer look back at the 30-year fixed mortgage rate here, I'm going all the way back to 1970. And we see inflation and the cost of buying a home, the percentage that you're paying, rising throughout. I mean, inflation was just raging in the 70s, and it went up until it slowed down the economy, and the inflation sort of balanced out the economy. The stock market and real estate became undervalued by 1980 and began its big bull market. And then that bull market was assisted by constantly lower and lower. This is called disinflation when you're talking about interest rates. When you're talking about a mortgage rate, this is a bull market in housing. Well, it finally bottomed, and it turned up, and it turned up at the fastest rate in that last chart that we've seen since 1989. So that's your bubble update on real estate. But one thing about bubbles, they can be very messy when they burst. An economic bubble is messy for the economy, but it can also be very messy for your personal finances. Take care of yourself and protect yourself. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.
GoldSilver.com. Price match guarantee. Free shipping. Global storage options. Phenomenal customer service. Get the best-selling book, Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver, for free at GoldSilver.com.